What's up, Internet? I'm Gavin. Welcome to Character Arcs, and this is Rick Grimes, one of the coolest characters ever made. Let's jump in.
There's your chance. Take it.
Grateful.
The day will come when you won't be.
Hello, Internet, and welcome to my channel where I break down the character arcs of beloved pieces of media. This show is dedicated to taking you on the journey and development of different characters, a space where we can celebrate our favorite stories and nerd out. Sit back and let's dive into the character arc of Rick Grimes, and yes, there will be spoilers.
All I am anymore is a man looking for his wife and son. Anybody gets in the way of that's gonna lose.
This all starts with Season 1, Episode 1, Days Gone By. Rick Grimes is a deputy sheriff and family man. His journey begins by waking up from a coma, missing the initial fallout, in a new world of walkers. Rick Grimes in Season 1 is very straightforward. Just a man trying to find his family. He sees the world in white and black. There's the infected, and then there's the survivors. Rick in Season 1 shows a level of humanity that isn't present in the later seasons. This is evident multiple times in this season, starting off in Episode 1, where Rick tracks down a walker just to take it out of its misery, showing compassion for the undead.
I'm sorry this happened to you.
This show is packed with so many amazing scenes of emotion. You really get the feels when Rick reunites with his family, and there's many touching moments in this show. Though one word to be described Rick Grimes for this season is identity. In a world of the undead, Rick chooses to wear his sheriff uniform. It might seem like an ordinary detail, but it shows a lot about Rick's mentality. The whole world has ended, and Rick wears his badge, living by it.
Damn right! Hey! We don't kill the living.
Rick has a moral code he lives by, and any sense of humanity is evident in the uniform he wears. It symbolizes his moral compass, and this is why Rick and Shane butt heads a lot. But Rick for this season is clean, being heroic and becoming a leader among his group of survivors. Season 1 really just gets us invested in our group, seeing the world through Rick's eyes. He proves himself as a leader, trying to do good for his group and others.
If you saw how it is out there, you wouldn't ask. You're a man of belief. If you believe anything, believe that.
You're putting me on the spot.
Well, I mean to. Those people look to me for answers. I wish they didn't, but they do. But I'm not asking for them or myself. I'm asking for my boy.
Rick in Season 2 faces a lot of challenges besides the walkers, and one word to best describe Rick for this season is compromise. And it's clear that there's three characters that have the biggest impact on Rick's journey and choices: Shane, Herschel, and Carl. They are what really shape Rick the most in his journey. In Season 1, Rick wears his uniform, living by it. Shane in this season challenges Rick on every turn, forcing his hand, ultimately changing his worldview in the end.
I killed Shane, and he kept leading me further out. He pushed me, and I let him.
Shane's death is what really changes Rick the most, being the event that breaks him. With Shane being too far gone, Rick feels he has no choice but to kill him.
This was you, not me! You did this to us! This was you, not me!
Though before this happens, Rick is torn in other circumstances, showing two sides of himself, truly transforming into something different. In episode 8 of this season, Nebraska, Rick kills other survivors in self-defense, realizing that the bigger threat in their world are those not infected. You really see this dilemma in Rick when it comes to Randall, a survivor from another group that tries to kill them. Rick fights to save his life to only later decide to execute him. But it's when Carl encourages him to do this terrible act that he stops, realizing what he's becoming. Rick is being pulled in two different directions, compromising who he used to be.
Do it, Dad. Do it.
Take him away.
I also find it very neat that Rick gives his hat to Carl, not sporting his sheriff's outfit for most of this season. It's clear that Rick is changing, no longer seeing the world in black and white. And by the end of this season, Rick gives his infamous Ricktatorship speech showing how cold he has truly grown, it being the first sign of a dark road for Rick Grimes.
You're cold as ice, Officer Friendly.
Season 3 really takes our characters to the next level, with their world becoming much bigger. This season introduces a new antagonist, the Governor. And there's a lot to say about the dynamic of Rick and the Governor, though Rick for this season can be best described as restless. He's become a much stronger leader, with their group cleaning out the prison they occupy. Rick seems more cold and stern than ever, not hesitating to kill anyone, but still has some sense of right and wrong. Laurie's death is the first major moment, sending him in a crazy spiral. Rick is haunted by the ghost of Laurie and Shane, failing as the group's leader. You can see the guilt Rick carries with a creepy call in episode 6, Hounded. With it being clear that Rick is seeing and hearing things that aren't there.
Yes, people who threaten me, who threaten my group.
How many people have you killed?
4. 2 outsiders who tried to draw on me. One threw me to walkers. The other one, he was one of our own. He lost it.
Lost what?
Who he was. He threatened me. Tried to kill me, so I killed him.
How'd you lose your wife?
How do you know I had a wife?
You have a boy and a baby. Tell me how you lost your wife.
Though I think it's important to note Herschel's role, giving him a sense of guidance. Herschel's the one that always pushes Rick and serves as his moral compass, guiding him to better lead their group.
Get back here! You're slipping, Rick. We've all seen it. We understand why. But now is not the time. You once said this isn't a democracy. Now you have to own up to that. I put my family's life in your hands. So get your head clear and do something.
I think another interesting moment is when Rick and the Governor first meet. You really start seeing similarities between Rick and the Governor, but also clear differences. The main difference is Rick has a love and care for his group, like family, while the Governor and Shane only lead for survival. Rick proves to be selfless for his group. The next most important part of Rick's development in this season is Carl's change in character when he guns down a young kid who surrenders himself to them. When Herschel tells Rick how he murdered the young soldier, Rick is terrified at what his son's becoming, which leads Rick to confront his son about what happened.
Herschel told me about the boy you shot.
He had a gun.
Was he handing it over?
He had just attacked us.
Yeah. Yes, he had. Was he handing it over?
I couldn't take the chance. I didn't kill the walker that killed Dale. Look what happened.
Son, that is not the same
You
thing.
didn't kill Andrew. And he came back and killed Mom. You were in a room with the governor. And you let him go. And then he killed Merle. I did what I had to do. Now go. So he doesn't kill any more of us.
The sheriff's badge is another representation of goodness and morality. Carl gives it up, with Rick realizing he has failed his son, allowing him to go down a dark path. This tug of war of rage and mercy continues in Rick. He could easily become the governor in the name of survival, or he can listen to Herschel and try to do the right thing and be a good example for his son. When the governor's defeated, Rick chooses to take in his people, giving them a chance at life. In the end of this season, he trusts in goodness, recognizing his failures and making peace with them. In the start of this season, Rick is farming on the prison, which is starting to prosper, refusing to carry a gun and make more time with his son, trying to set a good example and break ties from his violent side. That struggle in Rick continues between rage and mercy, which is evident when Rick and Tyrese get into it.
I know what you're feeling. I've been there. You saw me there. I know what you're going through. We've all lost someone. We know what you're going through right now, but you gotta calm down.
You need to step the hell back!
No.
She won't want you being like this.
Stop!
It's enough!
Rick!
Let go of me! No! Let go of me! No!
The best word to describe Rick this season is hopeful, believing in goodness. Herschel still serves as Rick's moral compass until episode 8, Too Far Gone. The governor makes a return, destroying the prison and killing Herschel. Rick's group is separated and barely escapes with Carl and survives. It's this loss that quickly unravels Rick, destroying any hope Rick has.
Look, I fought him before. And after we took in his old friends, they become leaders in what we have here. Now you put down your weapons, walk through those gates. You're one of us. We let go of all of it. And nobody dies. Everyone who's alive right now. Everyone who's made it this far. We've all done the worst kinds of things just to stay alive. But we can still come back. We're not too far gone. We get to come back. I know. We all can change.
For the rest of this season, Rick is healing from his lost, being broken. Herschel's death transforms him, deconstructing who he used to be. By the end of this season, Rick isn't the same, with this being evident in the final shot of this season, captured in Terminus.
We do what we need to do, and then we get to live. Because this is how we survive. We tell ourselves that we are the walking dead.
Rick Grimes in this season is best described as unhinged. He's a protector for his group, trusting no one. He doesn't hesitate to kill others, being the most brutal we've ever seen him. Rick doesn't believe in others and expects the worst out of people. The first half of this season is Rick's group surviving on the road, letting no other group stop them. On the second half of this season, Rick's group makes it to Alexandria, which is a very touching moment for Rick. You can sense their group being unsure about their new home, with Rick being hesitant. Rick's broken, losing all of hope in others besides his family. It's evident that Herschel's death is what killed any hope he used to believe in, only thinking people are evil. He no longer sees good in others and expects the worst out of them.
Ready? Even though you were wrong, you're still right.
With Rick's group in Alexandria, they are trying to adapt to their new home. It's clear to see how sinister Rick has grown, with you really starting to question his role as our protagonist. Rick no longer holds the values he used to, but has a twisted view, only valuing the lives of his group. Rick and Carol conspire to take over Alexandria, seeing how weak they are. Rick this season seems to feel a lot more like Shane or the governor, being more selfish than selfless.
What? You wanna kick me out?
Put that gun down, Rick.
You still don't get it. None of you do. You just sit and plan and hesitate. You pretend like you know when you don't. Your way of doing things is done. Things don't get better because you want them to. Starting right now, we have to live in the real world. We have to control who lives here.
That's never been more clear to me than it is right now.
Me? You mean me? Your way's gonna destroy this place. It's gonna get people killed. It's already gotten people killed. And I'm not gonna stand by and just let it happen. If you don't fight, you die.
Rick's change is apparent in episode 13 of this season, Forget. Rick is smitten with Jesse, married to the drunkly abusive Pete. You see Rick considering murdering Pete for his own gain, which mirrors what Shane did prior for the same reason. This episode ends with Rick going to one of the walls, setting his hands on it, hearing the walkers on the other side. It's a moment that says many things. Does Rick feel trapped in their home? Does he miss the walkers and the outside world? Rick is clearly the most dangerous person in Alexandria. We really see how far gone Rick has become in this season, growing dark and ruthless, eliminating anyone who gets in his way.
You really think you're gonna take this community from us? From Glenn, from Michonne, from Daryl, from me? Do you have any idea who you're talking to?
Season 6 is really the season where things get messy, with Rick being on the edge of being too far gone. Rick this season can be best described with one word: ego. As a leader, he's the strongest he's been, taking over Alexandria fully, but it's clear that Rick has changed. This is very apparent when Rick and Morgan first reunite.
I don't take chances anymore.
Rick doesn't take chances, no longer thinking people can change, having no hope. He still has a love for his group, but brutal to anyone outside that. The world of The Walking Dead is getting much bigger with new groups and factions. Rick doesn't shy away, intimidating anyone that tries to stop him.
What?
Rick's numbness and rage is what leads us to episode 12 of this season, Not Tomorrow Yet. Rick makes a preemptive strike against a group called the Saviors. It's this episode that really shows how lost Rick's group has become. They cross some moral lines that will carry consequences for them, starting a war with the Saviors. It's the final episode of this season, Last Day on Earth. We see Rick's group finally lose. His group is trying to take a pregnant Maggie to Hilltop for medical help, but the Saviors have every path blocked. Rick first meets the Saviors' right-hand man, full of confidence, not taking their warning. But you quickly see Rick change, realizing the Saviors have the upper hand. For the first time in a long time, Rick is fearful. And this leads us to the introduction to Negan, the most infamous character of the series. Rick's path of rage is finally catching up with them. Someone in his family is going to die. But this is the next step in Rick's journey. His rage and ego has led to his downfall, underestimating his enemies.
You answer to me. You provide for me. You belong to me. Right? Speak what you're spoken to! You answer to me. You provide for me.
Provide for you.
You belong to me. Right! Right. That is the look I wanted to see.
Glenn and Abraham are killed by Negan. Rick is finally destroyed when Negan threatens Carl's life and arm. Rick's group is broken, being separated. This season can best describe Rick as humble. All confidence has been stripped from him, with Negan now running the show.
Know me. I kill people. I don't know how many.
Jesus.
I know why they're all dead.
Is that you, Rick, underneath all that man bush?
Family. All those people out there.
Shit. I would not have messed with that guy. But that's not you anymore, is it?
Most of this season shows how weak Rick is, scared to lose anyone else in his family. Negan humiliates Rick every chance he gets, showing Alexandria how broken their leader is. But it's at the end of this season that Rick finally grows the courage to stand up to Negan, with his group reuniting. This is when the war between Rick and Negan really kicks off. Rick is no longer scared of the Saviors, but ready to do everything in his power to avenge his family's deaths and stop his evil reign.
To use and take and kill, to carve out the world and make it theirs alone, we end them.
There's only one person who has to die. And I will kill him myself. I will. I will.
This season is all about war, with Rick truly becoming too far gone. There's no amount of bloodshed that won't stop Rick from defeating the Saviors. Rick spends most this season getting other factions and groups to team up with them to fight Negan's group. It's episode 3 of this season, Monsters That Rick's Past Catches Up With Him. Rick comes across Morales, an ally from season 1. Morales is part of the Saviors and holds Rick at gunpoint. This shows just how much Rick has changed from season 1 to now, with Morales being a reflection of that in his own right.
You're not Atlanta PD. Where you from?
Up the road a ways.
Well, Officer Friendly. From up the road a ways. Welcome to the big city.
I'd at least try to find another way.
Yeah, why? Because we knew each other for a few days back at the start?
Look, I know. I would
You want to know what I think? I think you can talk all you want. You can say all the words, Lori, Shane, Andrea, Glenn. And they're all dead. And somewhere along the way, Officer Friendly died right along with them. Just like I did. With them. That's what I know, Rick.
Even though Rick is bloodthirsty, he shows a hint of compassion in Episode 5, The Big Scary You. Rick and Daryl have a bag of dynamite, arguing how to use it to take out the Saviors. Daryl suggests a plan that will put innocent workers of the Saviors' lives at risk, which Rick rejects. This gets them into an argument that becomes physical. This moment shows a level of humanity that still lives in him. Maybe Rick isn't as far gone as we think. War continues to rage on Episode 9, Honor. This is the biggest moment in the entire show. Carl's death. It's his death that projects the rest of Rick's journey. Carl dies writing letters to his loved ones, and even Negan, in efforts to end their war. Carl believes that there can be peace in their world, that no more have to die. He believes this because in the end of Season 3, Rick spares the governor's people and lets them live in the prison. This moment changed Carl from being murderous and put him on his path of mercy, even regretting the young boy he gunned down back in Season 3.
What is this?
You're gonna join us.
As Carl is dying, he tells Rick how this is the moment that changed him and restored him in having hope again. Rick promises to honor his son's dying wish in sparing Negan and building a peaceful world.
Carl, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I couldn't protect you. A father's job is to protect his son.
Love. It's just a love. I love you, Dad. I love you. Carl, I love you so much.
Rick this season is best described as determined, doing whatever he can to end the war and defeat Negan. Rick refuses to lose, even if that means going down a dark path. Carl's death sends Rick to his darkest point, struggling to honor his son's wish. In episode 14, Still Gotta Mean Something, Rick and Morgan are captured by some saviors. They get attacked by a large group of walkers. Rick promises peace between them in order to take out the walkers. In the middle of doing so, Rick and Morgan double-cross the saviors, betraying any trust they had. Rick's hate for them has outgrown any good left in him.
I lied.
I didn't. We could have. We could have lived after this.
At this point, Rick is too far gone, crossing any line to defeat Negan. His son's death has broken him, with Rick looking back at himself, seeing who he's become, as if haunted by his reflection. This all leads to episode 16, Wrath, the final episode of this season. Rick and Negan face off in hand-to-hand combat, with full intent on killing each other. This is the final battle in their war, with Rick getting the upper hand on Negan, slicing his throat. But it's here that he decides to honor Carl and spares his life, going against others in sparing him. Rick tells everyone that the war is over, with my favorite moment in the entire show happening next.
My mercy prevails over my wrath.
Carl's death brings Rick back, restoring his morality and the badge he used to live by. The ending to this episode is a perfect ending for this world of The Walking Dead. Rick makes peace with all his losses for the entire series, and there's a very touching flashback that truly represents Rick finding himself again.
The war's over, Rick.
Oh, we don't know that.
I'm talking about you. I'm saying it. And I'm saying this. You pulled Carl back from going out there. Fine. He shot that boy.
Yeah, I know.
He needs his father. He needs his father to show him the way. What way are you going to show him?
Dear Carl, I remember. I forgot who I was. You made me remember. I remember that feeling, walking with you that day. Like I finally knew who I was for the first time in my life. Thing is, we were walking side by side, but you were bringing me somewhere. Bringing me here. Bringing all of us to the new world, Carl. You showed me the new world. You made it real. I see it. I remember. Dad.
The war is over by the end of this season, with Rick's story coming close to an end. He has finally chosen mercy over his rage. He's at peace and finds joy for the new world they're going to build. His losses no longer weigh him down, but it's their memories that he honors for a bright new world.
Man, your ass wouldn't even be alive if it wasn't for Glenn. You wouldn't have found Lori. You wouldn't have found Carl. And you sure as fuck wouldn't have found any of us.
He did that. Or did you forget? Of course not. I think about it every damn day. And Maggie, I hate what I did to her, what I took from her, but it's what I had to do. She's doing what she has to do. What, you're okay with that? Why the hell wouldn't I be? You got that guy sitting in a cell like a damn symbol. To all them assholes who can't wait to see things go back to the way that they were.
Keeping him alive is how we make sure it won't!
Rick in Season 9 is best described as complete. His time in this season is brief, but it's clear that he's at the end of the road. Rick maintains peace among all other factions, becoming legend now. He's a happy father for Judith and husband to Michonne. The last episode of Rick is What Comes After. It shows Rick falling on some rebar, bleeding out as he tries to escape a large group of walkers. In this time, Rick starts having dreams. Each dream reminds us of the journey he's been on, with the first dream being about Shane, with them talking. We see how Rick grew cold and surpassed Shane, who was just ahead of the curve. Rick killed Shane for being too far gone, but Rick, in time, became just like him.
Boy, that shit you did in that field. Just you and me. Man, you took a page out of my book, Rick. You know, I'm glad you did it. You stepped up, brother.
It had to be me. Still has to be me.
Nah, see, Rick, yeah, I think that's where you're wrong. Has to be me.
You.
That's right. The only way this gets done, Rick, I want you to think about how you bit that piece of shit's throat out. Asshole in the church with the red machete, that is what I'm talking about. That's the shit that I need from you, that I always knew you had in you. I knew you had it in you, Rick, and it is time. You want answers? You want to know what this is all about, this right here? You and me?
I asked you,
yeah, you did ask, so now I'm going to tell you, and I want you to listen carefully. You got it? It's time. Kneel down. Dig deep. Find it, Rick. The rage, the hatred, find it. The loyalty is in there. Find it. It's in there, Rick. It's the only way that this gets done, and this has to get done. You understand me? It has to. You can do it, brother.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for what I did to you.
You need to forget that shit.
Another dream from this episode is with Herschel, being a very touching moment. Rick exclaims that he's tired, and he's sorry for everything that happened. Their reunion is very emotional, with Herschel being his guiding light.
Hey, Rick. Here. Look at this.
This place. It's beautiful.
It is something, isn't it?
I'm so sorry for what happened to you. To Beth and Glenn. For everything Maggie's lost.
Rick.
Maybe if I tried harder, done things different, listened more.
My girl, she's strong. And my grandson, he'll only make her stronger. You ain't got to worry about her.
I need to find my family. I need to keep them together.
No, you don't. You only think you do. I know it's been hard.
It has. What you wanted for me, for Carl, it hasn't been easy. We've been trying.
But we'll get there. All of us.
I'm tired, Herschel. My family. Maybe I can find them here.
No, Rick. You have to wake up.
This episode ends with Rick killing the group of walkers heroically to protect all other factions. He's pushed out the show, with everyone thinking he died, but is actually taken captive. And that's the end of Rick Grimes' character arc. He's complete now, knowing who he is. He finally mastered his rage and learned mercy and fairness. And that's going to be it for this episode. Maybe I'll do a follow-up episode for Rick Grimes once that spin-off show comes out. Seems like there's going to be a lot more to talk about when it does. But if you like this video, please support me any way you can. We mostly do gaming videos here, but if you want to see more content like this, let me know. What character should I do next? Anyways, I'm Gavin, and this was the character arc of Rick Grimes. Until next time, peace.
Thank you.